Welcome to the Yakusoku no Neverland cast, the cast where we talk about Yakusoku no Neverland Weekly, except we first missed the first 6 weeks, so now we're just going to do them all together, right?
Yeah, but explain what those weeaboo words are, because I don't know what you're
Okay,
saying.
yeah. So
Yakuza
for the
no what?
less
Like
the
the
Yakuza
Yakuza?
Kawami, that new
Yeah.
video game. For the less initiated, like less weeaboo people than me,
hmm
Yakusoku no Neverland or the Promised Neverland, which was a manga, I think at some point recently has been adapted into an anime by Kyoto Animation, great studio. Yeah, so we're 6 weeks in. We haven't done anything yet. I just watched all 6 episodes and felt like we need to talk about it. So, what are your thoughts on the Promised Neverland Gigabytes?
Okay, so The Promised Neverland is, it's a really good show. It gives me flashbacks to when I was in fifth grade and I was a smart little boy and I was, I'm basically Ray, I'm just basically like a boy genius. And when I was reading Death Note, when I was I read the manga of Death Note because I'm cool, and I didn't watch the anime. And L and Light, they were like talking. It was like psychological, kind of like I have no idea what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So, first of all, if you're Ray, that means you're like a smarter Sasuke, right? You're like the emo
Yeah.
kid that's brooding in the background. So, let's give some background, first of all. The three main characters in the show, Norman, Ray, and Emma, are three kids in an orphanage, and then they find out something that kind of flips the world as they knew it, and then the story progresses from there. So, first
Well,
off,
you
the
can't
first thing,
talk. You,
yeah, well,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry. You can't. You kind of have to spoil the first episode to talk about the show, right? Because
Yeah, there is that. So,
yeah.
you want to say it or should I?
So so there's a kid. There's a bunch of kids. So Norman, Ray, and Emma are the three main characters in this orphanage that is surrounded by, first of all, one tiny gate that is just there for play, and then a huge gate, and then a forest. And so two layers of forest. It's like a house and a field. It looks like if you ever played Majora's Mask, how you go to the moon and there's just one tree in this big field. It's like, for the audio podcast, that's a good description, but
Yeah,
people know what I'm talking
definitely.
about. They'll know what I'm talking about. Instead of a tree, there's a house in the middle of the field. And all the kids live in there, and they're all brothers and sisters, and there's just one mom. And she secretly sells them as slaves to demons. And
Well, if we're spoiling it completely, they just eat them, basically.
yeah, well, it's kind of there was some ambiguity, I think, on what they actually do with them, but yeah, I'm pretty sure they eat them.
Well,
But
I don't know if there's that much ambiguity. They showed like a corpse of a little girl, and they said, "Oh, the brains are the tastiest part," or whatever. So, but
yeah, but I
leaving that
guess I
aside, the
wait. I
whole
guess
point
I. Oh, okay, go on. Sorry.
the whole point of the show is that there's these three smart kids in an orphanage and they have to escape from their situation. And the whole show is basically about how they go about doing this and like the plans they make and how they deal with the new problems that come up as they try to escape, right?
Yeah,
Thought was pretty good, mostly because the way they set it up, it made us think that there was something wrong with it, but we didn't know immediately that there was something wrong with it. Obviously, the climax of episode one is that part where they find out what happened to that little girl. But until then, we don't really know what's happening. And like, we kind of know that Mother has something wrong with her. Like, she smiles kind of weird, but we don't exactly know what. And we're told right off the bat that Norman, Ray, and Emma are like these three super geniuses who always get perfect scores in their tests or whatever. So there's that.
yeah. I would say that there's immediately when the show starts off, you notice it's like a happy scenario, but you also know that something's gonna get real because just the way that the colors are designed, it's like it's not like a happy color palette, It's not like, oh, I'm expecting this to be a slice of life on a farm. Like just the way that the show's designed and everything, and and the colors and the directing is very dramatic and serious. So you know that this thing they're showing you to where these kids are playing in this field and it's happy. It's like you always get this feeling by the directing and everything that this is just a thin veil and that something's gonna happen. And I thought that the show handled that like the atmosphere of the show really well.
Yeah, for a show about kids in an orphanage, the color palette is really muted. It's a lot of like blacks and whites and like browns. There's not really that much color that you would normally expect in a
Yeah.
anime. And also, like you said, with the directing, I think the directing is one of the strong points of this show for sure.
Hmm.
Because whenever there's like a reveal, like 5 seconds before they like put the camera in a place where it makes us suspect what's going to happen.
Yeah, and they do a lot of things where like you always feel like when they're in the hallways and stuff, you're like, oh, is mom gonna come out? Like it's very suspenseful every shot in that way.
Yeah. And this definitely in like the last episode, episode 6, where they're stuck in that room behind the bookshelf or whatever, and they're like we're like that we hear the door like kind of turn, like the doorknob
Hmm.
turn, and we just like have our hearts in our throats because you don't know if it's mom or who it is that's gonna come through it.
Yeah, it's really good. Episode one, um, you know, okay, so this is one thing that I was thinking about the depth of field. What'd you think of it?
I don't really like depth of field in animation. I think it because the way they do it is they just kind of blur the part that you are not supposed to be looking at. So if
Yeah.
you end up looking at the part that's blurred out, it just looks blurry. It doesn't look like actual camera, like
Hmm.
camera bokeh or whatever. So I just find it kind of awkward. But other than that, I thought it was okay. I think they kind of wanted to mimic live action with that.
The only episode that it really bugged me in was episode one. I felt like weirdly it was overused because at the part where Emma and Norman go to deliver the little girl's bunny to the carriage with, and mom's delivering the dead body to the demons. Um, there was a lot of points where the depth of field was just weird. Like you would see Norman or Emma walking, and it would just randomly switch the depth of field. Not randomly, but like I don't know. It just seemed unnecessary. And then they would cut to another shot where they're walking similarly, and then there was no depth of field, and it just looked better. So it was like overused a little bit during the where they were going to the carriage.
But
I don't
other than
know.
that, I thought the art and animation were pretty solid. You'd probably
Yeah,
expect that from Kyoto Animation, but overall, I mean, the character designs are borrowed from the manga, but they're really good overall.
yeah. This shows like versatility because it's not like a slice of life type show. Like well, I don't know. They've done stuff like this before, so I don't know. They've done the what was that one Netflix? You know what I'm talking about? The Netflix one that got really popular that also had depth of field. What was it called? Uh,
Oh, Violet Evergarden?
yeah, yeah. They've done stuff. Yeah, so they've done dramatic stuff, and the girl Yamada Naoko, Silent Voice. Wasn't that by
Yeah.
them? Yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know if it was, but let's just assume it was.
I mean, it was by Yamada Naoko who did K-On! And you know, you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
The show actually didn't look very Kyo ish to me. It looked more like Haikyuu or one of those sports anime type things. It looked way more production IG than Kyo to me, in terms
yeah.
of the art and character design, which was kind of weird. I wasn't expecting that, but I'm more pleased with the art than I am with most of the other shows this season. So there's
Mm.
that.
I think the posing is really strong in this show. Like the every character has very strong like when they're moving, you could tell their like their facial expressions and the way that they move their body is really strong in this show in particular. I think,
Yeah.
and a lot of
Also the
emotion is expressed.
Yeah, definitely the emotion. But sometimes I feel like they go like a little bit over the top when they have like a some kind of reveal and then like they just hold on a child's grotesquely contorted face for like 10 seconds. It's a little bit over the top, but hey,
Did you think? What did you think of the faces? Because they reminded me of Akira so, a little bit.
just like the horror faces.
Just in general, the whole facial design. Because I saw some people complaining about they couldn't get used to the faces, but I was like, well, I've seen these faces before. I feel like it was very like Akira inspired and stuff like that. Like, because people were complaining that the eyes were too small and that the face was too up. Like, I
Mm,
guess because it doesn't look like every other anime. Anime fans don't like it. I don't know.
I don't know about that. I felt it was pretty standard anime, like with the orange hair and the black hair with the over the face and stuff. It was pretty standard anime to me. Maybe
Yeah.
like sometimes when a person smiles or like does a weird action, they like overdo it to like kind of exaggerate the motion a bit, but that's just good animation to me.
Yeah, I thought the faces and the character designs were really good. Like probably the best part. Uh, well, best not the best part of the show. What am I trying to say? The character design's really good.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
okay, should we talk about episode 2 now?
Yeah, let's talk about episode 2.
Yeah. So in
I'm so
episode
confused
2,
right.
what happens in episode 2?
They uh basically episode 2 is where they start planning their escape, and they start realizing that mom suspects that somebody went to the gate, because at the end of episode 1, okay, so Norman and Emma innocently tried to bring that stuffed animal to the girl who was getting adopted.
Yeah, and
They find out,
they were encouraged by Ray to do so.
yeah, they were encouraged by Ray to do so. More on that later. But so they after they find out the whole demon thing, mom knows. They leave the stuffed animal, so it shows mom like grabbing the stuffed animal. So mom knew that they were there. So episode 2 is basically the start of like, okay, mom knows that someone went to the gate, and we have to find a way to escape here. And Emma and Norman are like mulling over like, how are we going to do the escape. Emma wants everybody in the orphanage to escape with them, and that's the main that's the main problem, because like now they have to train every little kid to escape,
Yeah.
basically.
And that's the main difference between Emma and Ray in the end, it turns out, because Ray only cares about the three of them escaping, and Emma
Hmm.
wants to save everyone.
Which, I mean, Ray is being more logical, you could argue. I mean,
Yeah,
in a
for
way.
sure. He's set
Yeah,
up as kind of like the realistic, like the pragmatist, and she's kind of like the like optimist who wants to save everyone for sure.
exactly. And Norman basically Norman just has a crush on Emma, and so he would be more like Ray, but he's being clouded by
Yeah.
his desire.
He's
You
definitely
know,
in the Ray boat, but his affection for Emma kind of puts him in the oh, I'll do whatever she wants to do
exactly.
stream.
He has more heart. He's a boy with the heart of gold.
Yeah. And one of the
Yeah,
coolest parts of episode 2 is how they have to keep their cover and pretend not to know anything, even when Mother like looks directly at them and like questions them, be like, "Hey, do you know something?" They're like, "Nope, no idea."
yeah. She's really scary too.
Yeah, which is weird because when you first see her, you're like, "Oh yeah, she's just a normal person."
Hmm.
Then like after you see her with the demons, you're like, "Oh crap, she's evil."
Yeah, it's really good in that way. It's like, she has all the power. She has everyone's trust, and they now have to like rationalize their information, or ration out, I should say, my bad, their information to people who they can trust, or they think they can trust.
Yeah, and the end of episode 2 is when we see the other sister come in that Mother's called to help her out with the problem that she knows exists, but she doesn't know who knows.
Yeah, Sister Chrome.
Who is like this, eager young recruit into the whole farm system, and she just wants to make the best product. And she's not like as world wise as Mother is, because Mother is like kind of operating outside the rules of the system. She wants to make the best product, and that she doesn't care if she has to break the rules to do it. But the
Yeah,
sister's not really like that.
yeah. Mother just wants profit, and then Sister Chrome like wants to play within the system and rise to the ranks, up the ranks.
Yeah, the first introduction of Crone, we're like, okay, she's like the demon's inside source. Like she's just here to do whatever the demons say. But very
Mhm.
quickly, she becomes this like super eccentric character. Like she has this like baby doll that she plays with in her room and stuff.
She wants to topple Mom's position by outing to the demons the fact that Mom is breaking the rules. Because even though Mom knows, because Mom quickly figures out that it's probably Emma, Norman, and Ray that know this, but
Yeah,
she just doesn't. She wants to save face because she doesn't want people to know that her product. She doesn't want people to know that she's failed in a way, basically. So she doesn't want to do the right thing and report the
Yeah.
three products
She's
to them.
she's so like proud of her product that she thinks that she can remove the bad eggs without compromising the rest of the batch, basically.
Hmm.
Because when Sister Crone comes in and she tells her that, oh, there's some people who know, her first reaction is like, we have to get rid of everyone,
Yeah,
like just the nuclear option. But mom's like, no, you can't do that. Like my product is really good.
yeah,
So can
yeah.
we talk about that game of tag that they play in episode 3?
Oh yeah, where they're like training the kids.
Yeah, that was like one of the first moments where I was like, okay, this show is smart.
Yeah, yeah, that was a really good section because there's a lot of and especially when Sister Crone starts chasing them.
Yeah, so I was like, does she is she aware that she's basically helping them because when they do it to themselves, they can only be so harsh, with their tag game. But then when she does it, it adds like this extra element of danger.
Yeah, so her chasing them allows them to train harder, basically.
And the sequence where she basically turns out to be like an Olympic sprinter, just like running through the woods, scooping up children, is like, okay.
Yeah, she becomes Devilman. She's a Devilman lady.
Yeah, she just runs and she gets super creepy
Hmm.
all of a sudden. And then she just picks up all the kids. And at the very end of episode 3, they realize, like, oh, there's a traitor amongst us and we have to do something about it.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. And they hint at this too, kind of, because you see someone looking at them through the bushes when they're discussing their
Yeah.
plans to escape. You remember that?
Yeah, which again is just great direction because that
Yeah.
comes around at the end of the episode when you realize that, oh, hey, someone's snitching on them.
It's like it's like the classic Friday the 13th,
Yeah.
classic horror trope. Like that whole movie is literally that. The mom is looking at the teenagers through the bushes the whole time, and that's what gives it suspense.
So they initially think that it's Don and Gilda who are the traitors, or one of those two.
Yeah.
So they Norman like makes this plan to tell Don and Gilda about where they kept a rope, and depending on which rope went missing, they'd know who reported it to mom.
Yeah.
Which we think is like, which is like classic spy type stuff. Like we expect that to happen in a spy movie, but then in episode 4, there's a twist.
Hmm.
The twist, of course, being
That Norman deliberately, um, basically, he set up two sets of like plans. He was like, he said that the plan was to tell Don and Gilda, tell one of them that the rope was upstairs, and tell the other one that the rope was under the bed. But he only did that in front of Ray because he suspected Ray the whole time. But really, he told Don and Gilda that one was in the library and one was somewhere else. I can't remember. But so that would get so basically once Ray told mom with the letter that the rope. Hey, didn't he tell him that it was under the
yeah.
bed?
I think
Yeah,
he
yeah.
he told her that it was in both places. So the rope that they had as a decoy in both places went missing, and he's
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
"Oh yeah, it must have been you because I told Don and Gilda two completely separate things."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That was the genius part. But here's where I got confused, okay? And this is I'm gonna critique the show's editing here for a second, okay?
Okay.
So it was episode yeah, this was episode 4. Okay, I got my bearings now. So this whole sequence of the letter being delivered to mom is intercut with Gilda actually so what the show so here's the good directing, right? So Emma and Gilda go to sleep in the same bed, and then Gilda is secretly not asleep, and she goes up in the middle of the night to go out in the hallway, and you think, oh,
This is
Gilda,
it.
she's the traitor.
Yep,
Yeah,
it's her.
you think she's the traitor, and the show had been leading up to make you think that because there's all these shots of like her looking at Emma doing stuff, her looking at Emma look for the tracking device on the baby's ear. Remember that? There's all
Yeah.
these parts where it's like, oh, the show is leading you to think she's the traitor. So what happens is you get the scene of her walking up to the door. It turns out it's Sister Crone's door because Sister Crone was trying to get her to leak information. Okay, so what happens is she goes up to the door, And then you see the part where the letter is slipped under mom's door. So what I thought happened was, I
Yeah.
thought that she went up to mom's door, slipped the letter, and then it edited it to where now she's in front of Sister Crone's door. I thought that the events were she went to mom's door and then she went to Crone's door.
Yeah,
I thought it
same.
was two separate
I thought
doors.
the same thing. I thought she was a double
Exactly.
snitch. It
Yeah,
turns
that's what
out
I
no.
thought. Yeah, so that confused me when I was at episode 5 and I was like, wait a minute, what? Raise it? Wait a minute, what? But Gilda's the trait. But then I had to go back and I was like, oh, it was just like the two events happening simultaneously. That makes sense. So that's where
Yeah.
I got confused.
And
That was a
and
little
and that and
weird.
that scene where Norman like catches Ray is definitely the most Death Note scene we've had so far.
Yeah, that's why I made the Death Note comparison because like
Yeah.
it's a huge psychological show, and this also kind of has the aesthetic of Death Note in a way. In that, not the aesthetic of Death Note, but that in that it's like trying to be serious and dramatic, like Death Note was.
Yeah, but I do think that it doesn't waste or doesn't spend as much time inside like Light's head where he tells you what he's going to do and they
Yeah,
just do it and you see what happens afterwards.
yeah. This is like better than Death Note, much better.
Okay. Well, it's a little bit early, I would say. We haven't even gotten halfway through to say that it's better than Death Note. But yeah, I'd
I
say
mean,
in the
I've
first couple
read,
of episodes, yeah,
I've read. Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
in the first couple of episodes, it's definitely set up a good, foundation for the future. And I haven't read the manga, so I don't know what's coming.
Yeah, I've read all. I've read all of Death Note like 7 times. Yeah.
Yeah. So if Norman is the light in this and Ray's the L, then Ray is like even more weird than we'd expect because he's playing both sides off of each other in a way that we didn't really think about. Because when Norman finds out that Ray's the traitor, he's like, "Oh, but actually, I'm not just snitching on you. I'm actually snitching on you to help you because I want to get out of here too."
Yeah, because he's the double agent. He's the informant to mom, but he's also everything that he has done has been leading them, has been leading towards this. He's like, yeah, I've been planning this for 12 years. He's been watching all of his fellow friends, or 11 years, my bad, or however, 11 years?
Close to 12. They're all 11 and Ray's the first one is going to turn 12. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This is speaks to his pragmatic character because he has been watching all of his friends get eliminated to lead up to this point to where it's like, okay, we're gonna escape now because everything, all the parameters are properly in place. Now let me lead you to the gate because we find out that he led them to the gate to find out
Yeah.
that the demons were, yeah. And
He
so
basically set up the situation with the toy so that they would find out by themselves and he wouldn't have to tell them.
this is like this is more realistically played than a lot of psychological anime. I was about to draw a Death Note comparison, but just like in a lot of like psychological anime, there's always a bunch of leaps in logic. Like the famous part in Death Note where Light plans this whole like 6 month
Yeah.
stunt where like he gets rid of the Death Note powers. It's completely unrealistic. Like they try to justify it, but it's completely
Yeah. Then
unrealistic.
on the highway, he's like all according to Keikaku.
Yeah, exactly. And then the fan summer said all according to Keikaku, and that means plan at the top of the screen.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, but this is like realistic. Like you could imagine this Ray actually being a real character who actually could plan all this. Although, like these kids are really smart for being 11. I will
Yeah,
have to give it to them.
that is one of the things that like kind of like suspension of disbelief. A couple
Yeah,
seconds I'm like this guy Norman is so suspicious of his best friend from day one that he
yeah.
just suspected him from the get-go without even thinking about it.
Yeah. What were you doing when you were 11? Because I was like racing people in the playground to get pencils. Like,
No, I was like shoving erasers up my nose. There was not thinking about like breaking out of a demon farm by like double crossing my own friends. And Norman is like the most conniving of them all because he tells Ray one thing like, "Oh, I'll betray Emma at the very
yeah,
end and not take everyone," and then he tells Emma like, "Oh, we are going to take everyone," and they tell Don
mhm,
and Gilda that Connie's still alive. They don't tell them about the demons at all at
yeah,
first.
yeah. That is one thing that's still lingering in the air. Norman only agreed to like work with Ray, or Ray only agreed to keep Norman and Emma safe if Norman agreed to not take everyone. But Emma still thinks they're taking everyone, so that's still one like point of drama that's going on.
Yeah,
And
and
I
there's
have a
actually a
feeling,
little scene about that outside in episode 5 or 6 where Norman and Emma are talking, and like Emma says, "Yeah, we're gonna save everyone," and then
yeah,
Norman would usually say like, "Yeah, but he instead says like, "Yeah, we're gonna take everyone," because like you
yeah,
can see like the character like wanting to say something else but saying this because of what he said to Ray.
yeah, and but I already know Norman is gonna try to go with Emma's side, and still like he's gonna try to manipulate Ray. Like this is
Yeah,
gonna go on, like the mind games
because like one of the
going
like
on.
most important parts of any spy or any kind of psychological thing is the characters have to want different things, and they set that up very early in the show that some
Mhm.
people want to escape with everyone and some people don't think it's possible.
That was my one fear. As soon as yeah, it was in episode 2 where Ray comes sneaking up and he's like, "Hey, what are you guys talking about?" Like he doesn't know, And he's like, I was like, "Oh, here we go. This is gonna be the conflict." It's like the more people they're gonna get on their side to escape, the more people they're gonna win over, the more people are gonna have conflicting values. You know?
Yeah, which is actually still kind of the case because we don't really know what Don and Gilda want from this, but
Yeah.
like Don just off the bat just looks very much like an impulsive person, like he just steals the key and walks into mom's room for no reason.
Hmm.
So we
Yeah.
like already know that there's going to be some shenanigans with him later on when he does something he's not supposed to do.
Yeah, because he's already, he makes that extremely rash, extremely like, why would you even do this decision? He's the actual 11-year-old.
Yeah.
you know?
Like he's a realistic 11-year-old when he's told about something wrong and he's like, "Yeah, I have to fix it like right now. I have to go
Mhm.
do it."
Yeah, he's like, oh, let me steal the key and go, and I can save the world by talking on mom's radio. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, this is
Also
actually the worst thing you could do.
yeah, and another thing that they like Norman, because they're so smart, like right off the bat they consider is the possibility that they might be the only humans in this world.
Yeah, that's so. Oh yeah, because I was thinking that every thought I had, this show addressed. Because I was thinking, okay, there's bugs and cameras in the house. Why are you kids talking in the hallways, where anybody could listen? And to be fair, like the show, to be fair, I'm still kind of like, why are you just talking out in the open in the
Yeah.
hallway? But I can get past that.
That's kind of the only thing that kind of like triggered my disbelief meter is like they just
Yeah,
have conversations all the time, or if they if
yeah.
they if they had if they had established some kind of like, oh, we should talk outside where there aren't bugs or something like that, I would be fine with that
Hmm.
too. But hey, you take the good with the bad.
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's really good storytelling because they address all your concerns. They're like, hey, if we get out in the world, there's demons. What even is society? Like, and also is the house bugged? They address everything. And the clue in episode 6, while Dawn and Gilda are sneaking into Mom's room, we find out that Emma has been figuring out that there is a dude who's been leaving them messages in books. So there
Yeah.
is society, some kind of society out there for them to
And
find.
right off the bat, they like conclude that this guy could be dead, which is like one of the things which we see in like like YA fiction. They just assume that whoever's sending messages is alive and waiting for them.
Yeah, this is already smarter. Like these 11-year-olds are already smarter.
And then first, I don't like that it's Morse code. That's just kind of stupid. But hey, I'll take it. Whatever, Morse code. You
Why
know,
don't you like that it's Morse code?
because it's Morse code in every when the person's blinking in the kidnapping video, they just know Morse code and they just blink their location and it's like, oh, okay, here we go.
Yeah, you're right. Now that I think about it, like, have you ever read Series of Unfortunate Events?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Morse code in that. Remember when they're at the they're on their way to the circus and they've stopped at that town station and there's like something involving Morse code happened.
Is
Klaus
it a
found
light
out.
or something? I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
light that
yeah,
blinks out Morse code, I think.
yeah.
So, episode 5 over ends with them finding out about the thing, Ray's betrayal and whatnot, and then they tell Emma, and then episode 6 is about the Morse code thing.
Hmm.
The Morse code, and what do you think is going to be the payoff of this Morse code plot?
So this might be cheating a little bit here, but one time I downloaded the Shonen Jump app, and I
Oh
used
no.
the free trial, and I
Here come the
did.
manga spoilers.
No, I'm not going to spoil anything because I barely remember, but I did read a little bit of the Promised Neverland, like one chapter, and I had no idea what was going on other than there was an orphanage and some things were happening. And basically, what I can tell you from what I remember without spoiling, there's a lot more moving parts later on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so like, I guess that's a good way to put it. There's a lot more things, and I think the outside world comes in. I think because there seemed to be a lot more, uh, uh, yeah, there seem to be a lot more locations. So something is going to happen with the outside world. I think.
Okay.
I
So
don't know
speaking
though.
as someone who hasn't read the manga and has no idea what's going to happen, I'm hoping, or I hope this is the way that it goes. I hope it goes in like this 1984 direction where the Morse code is like left for the kids who find it, and the kids are
Hmm.
like they go to the secret location and they find that it was all like part of the system all along. Like a demon will come out and be like, "Hey, good job for finding this. Now we're gonna eat you. You know, you're the blue label humans. We're gonna sell for even more." I
Ooh, that'd be good.
I hope I don't know
Yeah.
if that's the case, but that's just my like off the top of the head thinking. So the rest of the stuff that happens in episode 6, Don and Gilda see the secret basement room with all the toys from the kids that died over the years.
Hmm.
There's this emotional moment where Don's like, "Oh crap, they were telling the truth the whole time. Everyone's dead. We can't
Yeah.
save any of them." There's that, which I hope kind of changes his impulsive behavior in the future, but we don't know.
Hmm.
And then they find these Morse code, and at the end, the very final scene of the episode
Oh
ends
yeah,
with,
this
yeah, you say it.
Crone. Yeah, Crone comes out and she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna work with you guys."
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they're like walking through the woods, having a conversation about escaping from a demon farm, stuff they shouldn't even know. And Crone
Yeah.
just walks up to them like, "Yep, it's all of you. All of you know. I thought it was just the three of you, but the rest of you also know." And then we're like, "Okay, they're screwed because it's not mom. She's not just gonna let them go. You
Hmm.
know, she's gonna eat them or like kill them right here or whatever, or ship them off the next day." And then she's like, "Hey, do you want to work with me?" And we're like, "Oh crap, what's gonna
Yeah.
happen now?"
See, here's what I think is I think that she's gonna quote unquote work with them, but she's gonna like it's gonna be one of those situations to where so Ray and Mom's partnership, to go back on that, that there's always this the underlying tone to when they're speaking to where Mom's like, "Yeah, okay, I'm in control of you. Like, you're gonna get shipped off still. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter that you're my assistant. Like, you're still disposable." And I think that's what Crone is. That's the type of relationship that Crone is gonna try to facilitate with them, basically.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
like Norman is really smart, so he might just play into that and be like, "Hey, you
Hmm.
know, we could just serve you like Ray serves mom." But Crone doesn't know that Ray serves mom, so it could be like a triple agent. He could be working for three people at the same time.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
also at the like at part of the episode 6 is we learn that Ray is about to get shipped out in less than a month too.
Yeah. That was really that was the part that um really cemented what like sort of like what I just said, because she was like reminding him like, "Hey, we're still in control here," you know.
And just like the way he accepts it, he's like, "Oh, it's my birthday. It's my turn this time to leave."
Hmm. Yeah, man, that was a powerful moment when
Yeah.
he found out.
Yeah, and the show does a
So
good
yeah.
job of like just treating this completely nonchalantly. Like this is a normal thing for a mother figure and a son to be talking about. It's like he's gonna be eaten by demons in a month.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah,
Yeah,
dang.
it's like for most of the show, you don't really think about the consequences of what could happen if they fail because
Hmm.
they're not actually doing anything. They're just planning. But
Hmm.
in that moment where Ray was like, "Oh hey, I'm gonna be shipped off in a month," you're like, "Oh crap, there's actually a timeline to this because all of them are gonna be shipped out when they turn 12."
Yeah, and I think that mom knows that Ray is betraying her. I think she knows. I really do.
Yeah,
I think
there's
she
a few
suspects it.
like she's too smart to not know some things. Like when the kid, like that little kid, says, "I found the key on the floor," she just
Hmm.
kind of accepts it. But you're like, would she really accept that? So you kind of expect there to be some kind of payoff for that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She knows that. She probably knows that Don and Gilda were trying to sneak around, or that one of the kids,
Yeah,
one of
I
the,
don't think she knows
yeah,
who it was, but she knows someone was in there.
yeah. I mean, she might have already deduced that it's Don and Gilda because, like, she's like, oh yeah, Emma, Ray, and Norman would never do that or something.
And then there's that little kid, which is like that little kid is the mystery because that little kid found the key on the floor, but nobody told him to find the key on the floor, so he just did it himself. And
Yeah.
also, he was the one who told Emma about the most Morse code in the books.
Wait, he told her?
Yeah, he told her, and then she told them.
Dang, I must have missed that. That little kid. What?
Like, I feel
Dang.
like this little kid, if they're 11, he's like 5 or 6. He's tiny.
They're living in. Doesn't this take place in 2015?
Well, they think it's 2015, but like
Yeah.
the episode titles are like the dates of when they happen.
Mm.
So like the second episode is 13/10/45. The first episode I think is 11/10/45 or 12/10/45. So all of the events of the first 6 episodes take place over the course of a month.
Dude, I did not. I didn't even think that those were dates. You know what I thought those
Yeah.
were? I thought
What?
those were like random numbers of kid. Like you know how
Yeah,
they have the
that's what I,
numbers on
I
there.
that's what I thought
That's
they
what I
were
thought.
too, but then I
Yeah,
looked up the like the all the episode numbers and I was like, "Oh, hey, these go in order." So, yeah, there's that.
I didn't even think about that. Huh.
So like the last episode, episode 6 was October 31st, 2045. So the
Mm-hmm.
first all of this has happened over like less than 3 weeks. So and Norman wants to like escape the farm in another 2 weeks before everyone gets shipped out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because like the
Um.
timeline is they have 2 months to leave, but he wants to do it a month in.
Yeah. That's why he. That's why he said, "Hey, we're doing this in like 10 days."
Yeah.
To Norman, and he was confused about that. I actually okay. So you say like manga spoilers. Like I want to make it 100% clear. I have no idea what I even read. Like
Yeah.
because it was like way farther, and I was just like reading this, and then that was like months ago, and now I see the show, and I'm like, oh, I vaguely remember something of that. So yeah, I don't. I basically am in the dark, pretty much.
Okay. So that was the first 6 episodes. We don't really know what's going to happen in episode 7. Do you have
Mhm.
any predictions?
Um, yeah, with Sister Crone, I think that yeah, basically what I already said. I think that she's gonna try to quote unquote team up with them, but she's gonna play the cards to where, um, she's gonna try to make them play into her, in game. She's gonna try to manipulate some
Yeah.
kind of situation. Don't think she's really partnering up with them.
Like you said, for my predictions for episode 7, I think the show is moving towards having more moving parts. That seems to be the
Hmm.
trend. So like
Yeah.
first we started off with the 3, and then we learned like Ray's like a double agent. Then they introduced Don and Gilda. Then they introduced the sister. I feel
Hmm.
like we're gonna see a new character, maybe like someone who we
Yeah.
didn't know about, or some higher up of Mom's who we haven't really been introduced to anyone above Mom, except that she works for the demons in
Hmm.
abstract. So I expect something like that would happen. I don't know. Kind of excited to see it. I think it comes out in a day or two. We'll see.
I think that's kind of how you have to do this. That's how you how you have to expand this story because you got to think it's being written in Shonen Jump, right? And so like you kind of have to if you want this to be a big thing, you kind of have to make it a big thing. You kind of have to expand the story. You got to put more stuff in there. But my fear is that like if they expand it too far, like, oh, now we're over the wall and now the nature of the story completely changes, You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I feel like there's going to be some kind of twist that makes it so that the plan that they have to escape is not going to happen or the way that
Hmm.
they want it to. I feel like that might be what we see towards the end of this season. I do think this show will get picked up again for a second season. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is going to be on the level. I think this will become on the level of like Attack on Titan and like Death Note. I really do. I
Yeah.
think this, or it
First of
has the
all,
potential.
the story of this is already like more well done than the Attack on Titan story is.
Yeah, well, Attack on Titan's awful,
Yeah.
but I'm talking in
Yeah.
terms of popularity. Like,
Yeah.
it's
don't
already
know
better
if
than Death
it'll
Note
I
too.
don't know if it'll get to like My Hero Academia level of popularity, but I do think it's a relatively popular show.
Yeah, it will be in that that Death Note Attack on Titan tier. It's never gonna be on the level of a Battle Shonen because
Yeah.
My Hero is like probably going to go down, and My Hero is Naruto Part 2, basically.
Yeah, they're making a movie this year, I think. So that's how you know you hit the big time.
Are they making a live action movie?
No, I think it's an animated movie.
Oh, they already had one movie. So
Oh yeah, wait. Then maybe that was the movie that I'm just not plugged into the Boku no Hero fandom.
I just watched season 1. I thought it was good, and I
Yeah.
honestly am in no hurry to continue it as of this moment.
Anyway, so that was a Promised Neverland mid-season recap. We'll be back for episode 7. Looking forward to
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Okay. So thanks for watching and see you then.
Thank you. Goodbye.